just worked for 33 years. None of us need to pay any more national insurance really, because if we pay, it's not for your benefit, because you're going to get maximum pensions if you've worked for those years and you've got credits. If you haven't worked those years, have you got children? Yeah. All the years you claim child benefit, you would get credits towards your pension. So it means that a lot of people that think I've only worked 20 years, but they've actually got 10-year-old children, they probably nearly have enough credits, yeah? So when you set up a business as self-employed, you can have a certificate of exception if your profits from this business are going to be low. And so by low, it is... It's probably on the next page. Hang on.
It's about a third of the way up.
So
Class 2 small earnings exception.
Oh, class 2.
No, it's the next one.
Next
So
one.
just
Yeah. So it's 5,885. So if your profits, if you expect your profit from self-employment to be less than 5,885, you can apply for a certificate of exception to not pay class 2 national insurance contributions. And if you don't pay but your profit then in that year, they usually give you one that lasts for 2 years. So if you haven't registered, it's quite good because you get it for 2 years at least. Then if your profits were actually 6,500, they don't ask you for that class 2 back. Once you've got the exception, they're stamping your card for you for those 2 years. If anybody thinking of having a baby? I had to ask, but if you're thinking of having a baby, you would be advised to pay class 2 national insurance contributions. Otherwise, you won't get statutory maternity pay. But that's one of the only benefits. There's a benefit to paying the class 2 person. So if you can get an exception, it just saves you. At the moment, the rate is it's 13.8 for class 1. Everybody's collected like class 2. What's class 2? Yeah, it's class 2. It's £2.75 a week. So it saves you £2.75 a week if you've got a certificate of exception for national insurance. As I said earlier, they are changing that from April, but they haven't told us how they're changing it. So it may be next April, maybe this April. So if you don't need to pay it, get a certificate of exception. Yeah. Apart from that, class 3, that's if anybody wants to do a pension forecast, you can go to just Google national insurance contributions. You can write them a letter. It's in Newcastle, and you can say, "This is my name. This is my date of birth. Here's my UTR number or not. Here's my national insurance number. Can you give me a pension forecast?" They will tell you how you are fixed for pension contributions. So if you did have some years, if people lived abroad for 10 years and didn't pay anything, we may be a bit short on national insurance contributions. It's as well to do a pension forecast, because if you do, you might be able to pay some voluntary contributions. They're called class 3 contributions. They are more expensive, but £13.50 to get your hands on the state pension isn't bad. It's quite a good investment. So it means that you can catch up on some of the missed contributions. Definitely worth doing a pension forecast, and it doesn't take them very long. Sometimes you can do them online now if you put in enough information. If you don't want to do it online, just send it to Newcastle, a letter to the DSS. If you're making a lot of profit from self-employment, as well as class 2, you'll be asked to pay class 4. And that means if you earn more than £7,958, you will pay another percentage. Class 4 is somewhere, class 1. Yeah. 8%. You pay another 8% on top of your profits in class 4 national insurance contributions. A lot of people aren't going to make that much money, so it doesn't matter. But if your profits are more than that figure, you just bear in mind that there's another 8% that you've got to pay. So it's not just 20% tax, it could potentially be 28%.
I'm not sure that I understand national insurance. I don't understand tax a bit, but I'm of an age now, that unlucky group of women who
have to wait a bit longer.
I'm going to have to wait a bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, this bit my mind. And so I'm self-employed.
When you get it, if you're of the age where you qualify for a pension, you will not have to pay national insurance when you qualify for a pension.
No, but I've been told that that's the way ahead, because you don't want to get your pension now until 66.
You've got to wait till 66?
Instead of, So, because you miss it, it's that gap of women who, ended up. So my cousin, who's 3 years older than me, at 63 is getting hers, but I've got to wait till 66. So, no. So, by the way. But, don't know on my episode. But the thing is that they've now said that under these new regulations, which I will be under,
Yes.
I've paid enough in for my pension now.
So you can
If I'm self-employed,
Yeah.
I don't get sickness benefit. So why am I still having to pay
You can
national
get-
insurance?
you
Or
can
I
get-
say,
oh,
I
it's-
don't pay anymore?
because you've got two choices. If you're self-employed, you have no choice. You have to pay unless you've got a certificate of exception from class 2,
Yeah.
which is this one.
Yeah.
And the other one is you get an exception from paying if your profits are less than that. So if your profits are less than that
Yeah.
and your anticipated profit's going to be less than that,
Yeah.
you won't be paying
But they
class
will,
2.
but you see, you sort of ask yourself, well, hang on, if you're an employee, you get benefits from paying
You
national
can
insurance.
you can get maternity
don't
pay. You can get maternity pay, but you can also get sickness pay if you're paying national insurance contributions. If you are not for a day or 2 days, something like that, but if you were properly sick, you can get unemployment benefit. If you are properly unemployed, if you use your license to be a tutor, or if Kate doesn't give you any more work, something like that, you might be unemployed. You might say, well, I haven't got any more students I can teach, so you might claim. You can claim unemployment benefit if you can claim.
You can't if you've got an occupational pension.
If you've got an occupational pension. No, probably not. You won't get.
Find out about that.
You won't probably get much, but you could have maternity pay.
They classify
Maternity pay.
pensions as a benefit,
Yeah.
which I would not say that pension is a benefit because you paid into
You paid into it in the first place, yeah, and it is also taxable. So
Yeah.
a certificate of exception. So if you believe that this year, maybe you have paid class 2, and now you think, well, actually, my profits are going to be less than this magic figure, then you could just phone them up and say, next year I'm not doing very much, so I want to pay less. I don't want to pay national insurance.
Because it also depends on your husband's age as well.
Not for the national insurance, and not for your own pensions, because you get pensions in your own right, unless you've paid contracted out pensions in the first place. But most people these days don't. They pay their own pension or their own income. Anyone who got contracted out state pension by virtue of their husband's pension, you get less at the end of the day. Yeah, you got 1 year. But then there's nothing. It's just that's what you signed up to in the first place. Yeah. So that's the national insurance.
Can I just ask you a quick one? If you are over that class 4 lower profits limit,
Yes.
how will they know to charge you more, and at what point will you be charged?
They do it on your self-assessment return. So when you submit your self-assessment return, if your profit, that's why it's quite good to do your profit and loss account, because you can see then that you will be paying this extra 8%. If your profit is more than 7,900, you know you'll be paying class 4 national insurance. It's collected by the Inland Revenue, and they collect it with your tax. So you get one tax bill which includes class 4 national insurance.
And that 9% is from the 7,958 upwards?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, if you earn 8,000, you're only going to be paying it on sort of 40, 50 pounds. It's not very much. But if you earn sort of an extra 10,000 pounds, then it's going to be a lot more. So it's just something to bear in mind. You want to make sure that that's as low as possible at the end of the day. Yep. So you could always go out and buy a new computer at your year end or something. Save yourself some national insurance.
But that's based on income, not on profits.
No, that's profit.
Oh, that's on profit.
That's
Okay.
profit, yeah, not on income, because we don't want to be paying too much national insurance. Yeah. At the moment, that's just on profit. Does that make sense? There's an upward profit limit as well, which we're not going to get there, so I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, 40. If your net profit is £41,000, you're going to be paying an upper limit profit of 2%. So above that, you're not going to keep paying 9%. It's only up to that figure. So that's national insurance, and that's where we are basically. There we go. Stable. So if anybody, I'm going to just pass this around. Anyone wants to? This is how to keep records. This would be. You've got something nice and straightforward. It's welcome to the world of self-assessment. It tells you all about being self-employed, sorts of things you can claim. It tells you things you can claim. It also tells you things that you can't claim. Personal expenditure for your family, normal existing house running expenses, which you would have incurred anyway. Clothes for yourself and family. Holidays for yourself and family. The cost of a car, but you can claim 45p a mile. Capital expenditure for general family use, like dining room tables, lounge furniture, TVs. You claim goods directly for the student rooms, such as desk, new bed, etc. and then there's some useful links on there. This is a sort of thing which is good practice bookkeeping. On an Excel spreadsheet, you can have, it shows you how to record all your income and how to record all your expenses. If you haven't got a lot of income and expenses, you just use 2 sheets for the whole year. You don't have to have 1 month. But if you've got masses of expenses, it's good practice to do 1 month. You wouldn't do 1 a week, you'd either do 1 a year, 1 every 3 months, or 1 every month, 1 every year, or 1 every month. So the income expenditure, and then at the back, the sort of thing you would do is you would keep all the receipts. Oh, you'd have a summary. That's a summary of the whole year. So at the year end, that's good practice to go. If it's on the Excel spreadsheet, it takes the figures from the total figures onto these spreadsheets at the end. So really it's doing the summary for you. So at the year end, you've just got 1 piece of paper, which is all your income, all your expenses. And then in here, you put April receipts in this pocket, May, June, July, August, just all numbered and clipped together, all nice and neat, so that you don't get that great big pile of rubbish at the year end.
How long do you have to keep those?
7 years. 7 years, yeah. You can, if it's massive, you can ask the revenue permission to get rid of some things sooner. It's 7 years. And so basically you just keep that up in your attic somewhere, number it, and then 7 years' time straight away.
Are those templates on your...
Basically what we do, if there are clients, then we give them back basically, and we give them, we'd send them the Excel spreadsheet. There isn't, I don't think there's a template. There isn't a template as such on that, but I'm sure if you emailed us, we can send you a template of the inside. Well, that's it really. That's any other questions?
I do a self-assessment form every
Yes.
year.
Yes.
Excuse me. But I'm only just now starting off to be self-employed. Do I have to tell the inland revenue? Or,
So you're doing a self-assessment form for other purposes?
Yes.
No, because you've already got a UTR number.
Yeah.
And basically, you'll have access to the page for self. You are supposed to tell them because of the national insurance contributions. So when you become self-employed, as opposed to having a self-assessment for investment income and pensions, you are supposed to tell them within a certain amount of time because they need to assess your national insurance. It's more for national insurance purposes. Otherwise, you could go just putting it on the self-assessment because you can access a self-assessment return as a in the self-employed sections, even without telling the revenue, because you've already got a UTR number. So you've already got access into their website to your own personal tax return. So some people will just stick it on there and hope they don't notice. But if there is a national insurance implication, you should really tell them that now you're properly self-employed as opposed to just having a self-assessment.
I think I've got more than enough national insurance contributions anyway.
But on the national insurance ones, if you've got more net profit than 5,800 from tutoring,
Yeah.
you have to tell them. Or if you're in receipt of a state pension, you wouldn't have to pay anyway. But if you're not in receipt of a state pension and you're not earning less than that figure, then you would still have to pay unless you're on a certificate exception.
One last point. I've spent some money on a course, perhaps £1,500. Can I claim that?
If the course is to learn a new skill,
Yeah.
no, you can't.
Okay.
If the course is continuing professional development, then yes, you can. So if you had to pay to come to this course today, yes, you could, because this isn't about teaching you to become fluent in Latin, Greek or Spanish or anything like that. It's teaching you how to get better use from your business or whatever. Those sort of fees would be allowable. Or if you had to go to just a tutoring course about, I'm sure Kate puts on lots of courses, but if you went somewhere else and paid, that would be fine. But if you were learning a new skill, an example of that would be if you're a van driver and you're just driving on a normal licence and you want to be an HGV driving an HGV licence, no, you can't claim for that because that's for your personal benefit. I can't claim to be an accountant, so I couldn't have claimed my fees to make me an accountant. Once I am an accountant, I can go on any amount of tax courses I like.